Vam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. You have it there, no? Actually, I don't require it. It's okay. If it's not there also. Fine. How many are online? 8. Acha, Vitthal is online, huh? So where's your friend coming? Okay. Okay, so how many chapters of Nectar Devotion have finished so far? Hmm? Really? Before that we did something or no? What? Preface and what? You have forgotten that, huh? The most important thing is there in their introduction only. Okay, so somebody tell the highlights. So what we'll do is, everyone tell one point what you remember. We'll go in line, nobody escapes. Starting, okay, preface we'll leave the preface. We'll start from introduction. You have to revise, huh? ठीक है. Start from your big Pandit, start.
Doing those things.
Start introduction.
See, introduction.
What is the first verse? First verse of Nectar of Devotion?
Anyavilasya
Array, first verse of Nectar of Devotion. First verse is talking about what? Yes, Krishna as Akhila Rasamrita Murti. That is the first verse. Second verse talks about offering obeisances to. So that 6 verses is Mangalacharan basically. 6 verses Mangalacharan, first verse is establishing that how The essence of the book is understanding Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna as Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Second verse is offering obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Third is Sanatana Goswami. Fourth is Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are compared to sharks. Why? They live in the deep ocean and what? They enjoy. Hmm? They reject rivers of liberation and they enjoy the ocean of bhakti. And third reason? Yes, never caught in the net of. That is for shark. Birth and death. Okay, so that's, and the fifth was protection of the nectar devotion from argumentative logicians. Sixth was he expressed the inability to write, dependent on the mercy. Seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th verses are talking about 7th, 8th, 9th. What are they talking about? Granth Vibhag. The ocean is divided into four sides, and we are especially focusing on Eastern Division. So the Eastern Division is divided into 4 waves, Lahari. So what are these 4 waves? First one is Samanya Bhagavad Bhakti Veda. That is including so this first wave comprises of introduction and first chapter. Then second wave is Sadhana Bhakti. How many chapters? Yes, 2 to 16. Third wave is Bhava Bhakti. Which chapters? 17, 18. And the fourth wave is Prem Bhakti, that is 19th chapter. Okay. Now don't give the mic. Now you have to start.
What should I start with? Prabhuji?
Now you start with the 11th verse. What is that?
That is Anyavilashita Sunyam.
Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. So you tell the verse, tell the translation, and tell the divisions of the verse.
Anyavilashita Sunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavrutam, Anukulena Krishnansunam, Bhakti Uttamam. This is the definition of Uttam Bhakti.
No, that's only verse.
Yes, but translation is exact translation is required. Prabhuji.
No, you whatever you understand, you tell.
Pure devotion is something which is Anyabhishata without any other abhilasha, of karma and even up to liberation or 5 kind of
no
muktis.
material desires.
No material desires. Anyabhishata. Jnana karma without any kind of material liberative knowledge or karma kandi mentality. Anukulena Krishna, which is favorable. Krishna Anushilanam, favorable towards Krishna, and Anushilanam is following by example set by Acharyas.
What's the other meaning of Anu?
Anu is
One is following, other meaning is? Constantly. Right.
Anushilanam.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now give to Naik Sakapru. So now you tell what are the two, how the verses divide into Swarup Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. Correct? So which are Swarup Lakshana?
Anusilanam.
Anushilanam, then Krishna and Anukulena. So those are the 3 Swarup Lakshana. Then Tatastha Lakshana are Anya Vilashita Shunyam and
Jnana Karmadi.
Jnana Karmadi Anavrittam. So why it has been divided into Swarup Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana?
Without Swarup Lakshana, it cannot be Bhakti.
Correct. And Tatastha Lakshana?
Tatastha Lakshana, they are the other divergent.
Okay, give him.
Because if Tatastha Lakshana is not there, then any other desires other than means we can have it in Bhakti also. So that's why this is also required.
So the Tatastha Lakshana precisely define what is pure devotional service. So they differentiate pure devotional service from other types of devotional service. So if the Tatastha Lakshana are also there, then it specifically defines pure devotional service. Everybody able to remember something, no?
Yes, sir.
Or we have to start all over again?
No.
Naik Sahib, Prabhu? I know you were too busy that time, correct? But you'll have to revise, huh? Otherwise, without knowing what is pure devotional service, then what you'll do? ठीक है. Okay, tell some other points.
So in Anukulyana we discussed there should be two characteristics. It should be pleasing to Krishna and it should be with the intention also to please Krishna.
Good.
So
Why
we-
both are required?
So because we saw some demons, they are pleasing to Krishna, like Chanur and Mushtik.
Yes.
And
Why
on-
they're pleasing?
Because Krishna is enjoying viryaras with them.
Yes.
So then we have to take both definitions. Otherwise, in one of the cases we take only one. Then Yashoda Maya is displeasing Krishna by not allowing her to suck the milk.
Yes.
So we have to take both definitions. Then the definition is complete.
Good. Some other point? अरे पास क्यों है? पासिंग नहीं है यहाँ पे.
See, I attended online and Puji, I had some services, so was not here.
ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम. जो याद है कुछ तो याद है ना. फिर ऑनलाइन सुनने का मतलब क्या है? कुछ भी याद नहीं, ऑनलाइन सुनने का मतलब क्या है? I tell those online people, ना, see, those you're hearing online are not remembering anything.
That's why I came today, Puji.
Good. But still you have to say something. कितने घंटे आपने सुना?
Actually, the services were there, so it was like one
कितने
point.
घंटे सुना? हमने कितने घंटे किए क्लास? 5 किए ना? 5 into 3, 15. 15 घंटा क्लास हमने किया. तो कुछ तो एक सेंटेंस कुछ तो बोलो.
Puji, I remember one point, like regarding the authority you said. So we don't see the authority as a person, but we see the connection with the parampara. So that's how we see the authority.
Good. You remember that because it's relevant, huh?
So, Puji, in Jnana Karma Dhyanavrutam, we have seen we cannot make Jnana and Karma zero. It is required. But we have to give up this Jnana and Karma which are obstacles.
So which type of jnana and karma are obstacles?
So, like Kamya Karma basically, that we have to give up. And others like Nitya Karma, Naimittik Karma, which are not obstacles, so that we can perform like some pitras and all that stuff. So
Shraddha.
Shraddha. So that are not obstacles, so that can be performed.
And jnana? Which type of jnana is obstacle?
Impersonal.
Impersonal jnana. Yes, so there must be no contamination. Speculation, desire for liberation, all that must be given up. We'll come back to you, don't worry. Next.
And that we also discussed that Nitya Karma, Naimitya Karma should be done. Those are prescribed duties, but not on the pretext of forgetting or neglecting the main duty like pleasing Krishna, pure devotional service. So these things should not cover our devotional service.
Yes.
That's how we should follow these Nitya Karma, Naimitya Karma. And then we discussed on Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, Tatparatve Nirmanam. And we drew parallels also with Anyavilasita Sunyam. How both are same things.
Okay, fine. So now we'll go to the next topic. What is the next topic? 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Please name them. In the
क्लेशाग्नि
Kleshagni,
शुभदा
Shubhada, Moksha Laghutakrit,
सुदुर्लभा
Sudurlabha,
then सांद्रा विशेषात्मा and Sri Krishna
Akarshani. So why is the sequence important? First 2 are in Sadhana Bhakti, next 2 Bhava Bhakti, and last 2 in Prema Bhakti.
प्रेम भक्ति
Okay, good. Okay, next. Akrur Pran. So you briefly tell about each one, of one of them. At least tell what is Kleshagni.
In the beginning of sadhana bhakti, the klesha of the material existence,
So what are the causes of Klesha?
ignorance,
First is root cause is ignorance, then
then forgetfulness of Krishna,
that is only ignorance.
ignorance,
So that avidya leads to,
पाप.
उसके बीच में क्या है?
इसके बीच में जैसे दिन
What is the next step? Avidya, next is Bijam.
Bijam,
Bijam, that's material desire seed. Then Bijam leads to
putam, is
Papam.
पाप.
अरे फंडामेंटल में गड़बड़ है. This everyone should remember. Huh? This is a basic thing. Give to Prabhu. They have also heard. You remember this? You have heard this? Avidya, Bijam, Papam, then what?
Skutam.
Before that. After one commits sinful activity, what is the next step?
Prarabdha, aprarabdha.
What is first?
Prarabdha.
First is aprarabdha, right?
Aprarabdha.
Even logically you think, na?
Yeah.
First is aprarabdha, that which is not manifest.
Not manifested.
And
Prarabdha
Prabhupada
is
gives,
manifest.
see, if you remember, even by logic you can understand. Therefore, Prabhupada gives very simple examples. So just like, he gives 2 examples. So many? Just like? Chup. Prabhupada example bol.
Raishampro gave one example, I remember that. Not sure if it is Prabhupada. There was a child who was riding a bicycle, then he got the wound, he fell from cycle, he got the wound. So before, while driving it was aprarabdha, and when he got the wound, it is prarabdha karma.
Okay.
One more example he gives is, when one sees a woman, he gets attracted and he develops a desire to, then he tries to interact with her. That is a prarabdha. And when he interacts and gets the suffering, that comes to prarabdha.
Okay. So anyway, what are Prabhupada examples? So Prabhupada gives the example of thief. So thief, he commits the theft, then till the time he is not caught, it's aprarabdha, because it's just a matter of time. And he is going to be caught, and then when he is punished, that becomes prarabdha. So the other effect of aprarabdha is, now you tell, you said, the other effect is?
Kutam.
Kutam, yes. What is kutam?
Sinful desire.
Increased propensity to commit sin. And then the kutam once again leads to
Desires.
bijam. And that's how the cycle continues. Mulyadan Prabhu?
Proceed. That when devotee surrender to the Krishna, then Krishna takes the charge fully. And in that case, Krishna, he shows that how this material world is dukkhalayam. So he gives the suffering, and then in that case, devotee surrender more.
Okay, fine. You are describing why a devotee suffers. Yes, so because by practice of devotional service, all the stages of the sin are nullified. So then ideally, devotee should not suffer because he doesn't commit sinful activities, but still devotee suffers. So then one of the reasons we discussed was, yes, still some traces of enjoying mentality are still there. So therefore, to nullify that and to intensify his devotional service, then Krishna gives suffering to devotee. Yes, thank you. Next. Okay, Kleshagni finished. Next, Shubhada. 4 aspects of Shubhada. 4 aspects of Shubhada. ठीक है, एक तो बोलो. अरे बुक खोल कर बोलो ना. अरे आप कंप्यूटर के सामने बैठे हो. हाँ, क्या हो गया? आपने नोट्स बनाया ना कंप्यूटर में?
In the book it is compassion for everyone.
Then?
Attracts everyone.
Yes. The devotee becomes attractive. Then?
Bestows qualities, good
Bestows
qualities.
good qualities. Then?
It's a superior happiness.
Bestow superior happiness. Sarva Jagadam Prinanam, Anuraktata, Sadguna and Sukha. Right, 4 aspects. Okay, next.
So then to see this.
So now you describe the next one. What is the next one? Sudurlabha. Say something about Sudurlabha. Why devotional service at the stage of bhava is very rare?
So it is like very rare because it cannot be given by anybody else. Krishna only has to give it.
Okay.
So one cannot demand also. It is Krishna's property. Only when he pleases Krishna by whatever endeavor he can do, Krishna has to bestow it. So and hence it is rare.
One very important point. Why Krishna does not give it easily?
Because he becomes subservient to that
Yes,
devotee.
because he has to become subservient to such a devotee. So it doesn't make it cheap. It doesn't give it easily. And so the only way by which one can get bhava and prema is
When Krishna bestows it.
So yeah, if one waits for Krishna to bestow, practically impossible.
Pure devotee, yes.
Vina mahat pada rajobhishekam. The only way is by pleasing the pure devotee, pleasing the acharyas. That is the only way. Okay, next. Moksha Lagtakrit, say something. Moksha Lagtakrit, Sandhana Visheshatma. Both are same subject.
Roji, there are 3 levels of happiness that comes in Subhada, Moksha Lagtakrit and Sandhana Visheshatma.
So 3 types of happiness are what? Okay, these are happiness in the various stages of bhakti.
Subhada in sadhana bhakti, happiness comes. And this Moksha Lagtakrit in bhava bhakti and this Sandhana Visheshatma in prema bhakti.
Okay, that is fine in the different stages of bhakti, but we also discussed 3 types of happiness. What are they? Simple. Happiness due to material happiness, that is Jadanand, then
material things.
Brahmanand, merging in impersonal Brahman, and Bhakti. Yes, so 3 types of happiness. Okay, next. जो याद है वो बोल.
Krishna cleaning, that is fully surrendered to Krishna and realize that this is dukhalayam asasatam. Then give up the enjoying mentality. Then one can realize.
Okay, ठीक है. कौन रह गया? हाँ. And then online devotees. Other than online devotees will escape now. Some point. Now what is over? Shri Krishna is remaining. Shri Krishna.
So only by mercy of means like at the age of stage of prema bhakti, it means even devotee becomes so attractive that he even attracts the Krishna.
The devotional service becomes attractive. Right. So what else we discussed under that?
So basically, bhava and prem cannot be demanded, but it is bestowed upon.
That's correct. So under Shri Krishna, we discussed that whose devotional service is very attractive to Krishna? Srimati Radharani. So therefore Krishna is called as Madan Mohan and Srimati Radharani is called
Mohan Mohini.
And so we have to attract the mercy of Srimati Radharani, following in her footsteps. So how to attract?
Basically, we need to follow the regulations and the orders of the Guru and his representatives.
More precisely? How to attract Krishna's, Srimati Radharani's mercy? More precise? Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashruta bhajantananya manaso gyatva bhutadim. By taking shelter of those who have taken shelter of Srimati Radharani. Who are they? The Mahatmas. Yes. Okay, fine. Online. Hare Krishna. Who's online? Vittal bro, Vittal. You're there or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so now you define sadhana bhakti.
Sadhana Bhakti, Prabhuji, you mentioned that is which is done with our body, mind, and words engaging. Then in that you discuss that uh, somehow or other we have to engage our mind in Krishna consciousness. That yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshe. And the goal is a smaranam. Then you told that that smaranam means, but if you say that it is all time, then people will go into frustration because it is not possible in all time. So that and that according to that verse is that Vishnu
Okay, fine.
Chakrabarti says
Okay, so definition of sadhana bhakti, goal of sadhana bhakti is? Okay, who's next? Who's next? Suraj. And nobody came from Nagar, huh? Okay. ठीक है.
आवाज नहीं आ रहा है.
अरे अभी तक कुछ नहीं बोला.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, next. Next.
Hare Krishna.
Prana.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So what is the essence of sadhana bhakti?
The goal of sadhana bhakti is bhav bhakti.
Goal of bhav. Okay, sadhana bhakti is bhav bhakti. That's correct. But what is the most essential practice of sadhana bhakti?
The inspiration for doing sadhana bhakti is come from scriptures.
Okay, and the instructions of
and instruction of Guru. Correct.
Yes. Okay, so that's within the definition of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is of two types. What are they? Vaidhi and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So the definition of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is that bhakti which is performed by the inspiration of the injunctions of the revealed scriptures and the instructions of the Guru, and which is performed with the mind and senses. That's called as Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. But okay, we also discussed what is the ultimate goal of all these practices of Vaidhi bhakti, or what should be the essential principle of all these practices of following all the rules and regulations within Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. What is the essential principle?
Prabhuji, to somehow or other fix our mind on Krishna.
Okay, fix our mind on Krishna. And what else, more precisely?
always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna.
Yes, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Smartavya satnam Vishnu, vismatavya najatuchit, sarve vidhi nishedasyor, etayor eva kinkaraha. Good. Thank you very much. Now we're going to chapter 3. Okay, please read the first two paragraphs. देखो ठीक है माइक वहाँ पर है Chapter 3 Eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. Please read the first two paragraphs.
On account of his association with Mahatmas or great souls, 100% in devotional service of the Lord, one may attain a little bit of attraction for Sri Krishna, but at the same time, one may remain very much attached to fruitive activities and material sense enjoyment, and not be prepared to undergo the different types of renunciation. Such a person, if he has unflinching attraction to Krishna, becomes an eligible candidate for discharging devotional service. The attraction for Krishna consciousness in association with the pure devotees is the sign of great fortune. It is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that only the fortunate persons, by the mercy of both a bona fide spiritual master and Krishna, will get the seed of devotional service. In this connection, Lord Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 20th chapter, 8th verse, "My dear Uddhava, only by exceptional fortune does someone become attracted to me, and even if one is not completely detached from fruitive activities or is not completely attached to devotional service, such service is quickly effective.
Okay. You opened the next one. This is lesson 6. Good. Okay. So this is the first point that is being discussed, eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. So this is Rupa Goswami's verse from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which is from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we have discussed last time also. Correct? Yadrichaya mat katado jata shraddhastu yapuman na nirvinno nati sakto bhakti yogo sa siddhidaha. If somehow or other by good fortune one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. If somehow or other by good fortune, yadrichaya, that means by good fortune. So what is that good fortune? Yes, the good fortune is the association with devotees. So somehow or other one gets the association of devotees. We discussed the whole thing last time. So when one first gets the association of devotees, what does the person get? Yes, he gets faith. And initially what is that called? Yes, Agyat Sukruti. Bhaktionmukhi Agyat Sukruti. We discussed 3 types of Sukruti. You remember that? What are they? Bhogonmukhi Sukruti,
And Mokshanmukhi
Sukruti, and Bhaktionmukhi Sukruti. So when one comes in association with devotees and performs some devotional activity, he first of all gets Bhaktionmukhi Sukruti, and then he continues to get that, and then over time it matures, and then he gets attraction for hearing and chanting, Matkatado. So that's the good fortune. That's the good fortune a jiva gets, the association of devotees. So somehow if he gets that, then he gets the faith in hearing and chanting. And such a person, Jata Shraddhastu Ya Puman, Na Nirvinno Nati Sakto. So Na Nirvinno means he must not be Na Nirvinno means not too detached. If he's too detached, what will happen? Yes, he may go to the Gyan Marg. And if he's too attached to material sense enjoyment, the Karma Marg. So therefore, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection to the path of loving devotion to me. So those are favorable factors by which he can take to the path of pure devotional service. Next. Kya huya? You have not missed anything in between, no? No? Okay, fine. Okay, so then this verse is quoted, Sutta Vacha, we'll recite together. Evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavi sutam amantrya venam ramayan yayo yadrichiko muni. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Shri Narad Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will. So here again the word is coming what? Yadrichiko. Next. So there's a purport to this verse. Please read.
Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. And this freedom is obtained only through the transcendental service of the Lord. We can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom, which is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. There is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop him from his free movement. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of the devotee is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it, even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all sphere of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot.
Main pivot. Okay, so in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivots. So, first of all, I think so we discussed this once last time also, but the Madhyam Adhikari preacher has freedom where to preach. So Krishna has given that freedom to the preacher. So Krishna himself doesn't give his mercy directly. He doesn't give his mercy directly. Why he doesn't give? What is that point? Partiality?
If he gives to someone and rejects someone, then there is a blame of partiality on the behalf of the Lord.
Good. So therefore Krishna says, I don't want to do this business. So some people get it, some people don't get it. But at the same time, Krishna is capable of giving to everyone because he is omnipotent. But at the same time, everyone is not qualified. So therefore Krishna says, anyways, I don't want to do this business. So he gives that service of distributing his mercy to the preachers. And as far as the preachers are concerned, Madhyamadhikari preachers, they have first of all the right to discriminate whom to give mercy, whom not to give mercy. So we know that famous verse, Prema Maitri Krupa Upeksha. So therefore, even if the preachers discriminate, one thing is they have a full right to discriminate. Second thing is they're also limited. They don't have capacity to go everywhere and preach. Correct? So just like you're going to Navi Mumbai, right? You can send one expansion there, no? You can send? No. So that is how the preacher is limited. And therefore, if the preacher doesn't expand himself to go to too many places, nobody will blame him. So therefore, Krishna has given the rights of giving his mercy to the preachers. And that preacher has freedom. So just like Narad Muni went to Mrigari to preach. Now nobody can question him, why you went to that fallen fellow, that Mrigari? Why you went? Freedom. Oh, there are so many kings. Why you went to King Prashin Barishad? So there's no why. He has freedom, that's all. And so, if one gets the association of devotees, then such a person is considered to be fortunate. That's all. There is no further questioning. He got the association, he is to be considered fortunate. That's all. So there is no why there. Why the devotee went only there? Why not there? Well, so freedom. So the person who's preaching, he has freedom, and the person who's accepting, he also has freedom. To accept or not to accept, he also has freedom. So that is why he's saying that freedom is the main pivot in the practice of devotional service. So, just like in the morning Bhagavatam class, Tulsi Prabhu was telling that, so Guru is giving instructions, some accept, some don't accept. Okay. Freedom is there. Guru is giving instructions to everyone. Some accept, some reject some twist the meaning also and accept. So many things happen. Everyone is hearing the same instructions, but everyone accepts according to their own level. So that is how freedom is always there in devotional service. Okay, go ahead. Now this is Rupa Goswami's verse. Recite. Yakenapi ati bhagyena jata shraddho sasevane nati sakto na vairagya bhagasyam adhikarya sau. Okay, so this is very similar to the Bhagavatam verse, but this is Rupa Goswami's verse. Okay, read.
The person who has developed faith in serving the Lord by impressions arising from previous association with devotees, who is not too attached to material objects and who is not too detached, is qualified for Vaidhi Bhakti.
Okay, so this ya kenapi ati bhagyena. So what is, same point, ati bhagyena. So what is the bhagya? The bhagya is, he has developed the shraddha, jata shraddho sevani. He has developed the shraddha to serve. How is that shraddha developed? By impressions arising from previous association with devotees. That is his bhagya, ati bhagyena. The bhagya is, he has got association of devotees and he has got that impression, and because of that, then he develops the taste for practicing devotional service. Okay, go ahead. So that is his qualification. So 4 things are mentioned in the above verse. First is ati bhagyena, the fortunate one. The fortune is the association with devotees. Second is shraddhasya, serving with some faith. Third is nati sakto, he may be too attached or he should not be too attached. And vairagya, too detached. So he should not be too detached. So those are the qualifications. And so Vishnu Chakravarti says, if one is too attached to sense gratification, then is eligible for karma kand. One is disgusted with sense objects, eligible for gyan. One is attached to a mahatma, he becomes eligible for bhakti. So therefore, the attachment to a devotee is very important to develop faith in devotional service, and then one gets the impressions. Today morning also in the Bhagavatam class, the whole class was on sanskaras. So sanskara basically means impressions. So when one associates with devotees and then one sees how they are acting, how they are behaving, how they are seriously chanting the holy names, all that creates sanskaras, all that creates impressions. So therefore, association with the right type of devotees is very important in our practice of devotional service. Of course, we'll be discussing about association in the further chapters. Here we're talking about eligibility. Who's eligible for practicing bhakti? So these are some few favorable eligibility criteria for one to take up to the practice of bhakti. Clear so far? हाँ, वहाँ और एक माइक है ना वहाँ पे?
Prabhuji, this same kind of verses come before also. This
Yes, that is from 11th canto Bhagavatam, 11:28.
Two attached to sense gratification, two attached to...
right. Not too detached, not too attached.
Prabhuji, my first question is, Prabhuji, when we were discussing Bhagavad Gita, we were discussing about yogis who have already detached. Because of the detachment, they are purified of their purified from their impurities. And then we discussed that when the such yogi gets an association of devotee, he immediately takes up devotion service to great length. So Prabhuji, when we speak of that yogis, are we speaking of those people who are disgusted with sense gratification? That is question number 1.
Yes. So here we are talking about someone who is just begun a path of spirituality, right? So we are not talking about somebody who is already a jnani or a yogi. We're not talking about such people. We're talking about a jiva who has not embarked on any spiritual path. We're talking about such a person.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Prabhuji, when we are this one, now you have made it clear that it is the jiva is embarking on his spiritual path for the first time. So that is a point where time phrase we are taking right now. So Prabhuji, when we are speaking of this includes this includes people who have not got anything, in sense people, some, as you said, this mokshonmukta sukriti. Some people have, because of this previous lives, they have got some kind of qualification or some kind of interest.
So that is why it is already clarified here. Ati bhagyena. Ati bhagyena. I go to the translation. See, the person who has developed faith in serving the Lord by impressions arising from previous association with devotees.
Okay. So he has already got Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti.
He's already got Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. But talking about such a person.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, so that means he's not not embarked on the path because already got Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti.
Yes, he's already got Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, but at this point...
Actively pursuing spiritual life.
But he's only got Sukriti so far.
Yeah.
He has not yet begun his practice of Bhakti. So this person has already got the Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, and at the same time, he is not too attached, not too detached. Then he becomes eligible for beginning his Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti.
Okay, Prabhuji. So now this is what is there here, Prabhuji. Now in practical life example I'm asking, we meet across people who are some because of their whatever, their family background or because of they hearing, because of this internet explosion, because of they getting to hear from someone who is speaking some kind of Mayavad, which is very prevalent in India right now. So those people come to us through temple or through college program. We try to preach them. So what to do with those kind of people? Do we have to clarify with philosophy that that's what we do? So can that be done, Roji, or
What can be done?
In the sense, Proji, when we come across those kind of people who already have a philosophical baggage of coming from Mayavad background,
okay.
So do we have to touch them, or because this is someone?
So if you don't even touch them, then how will you know whether they are receptive or not?
Yes.
You at least have to touch them. That means at least you have to speak to them, na? You speak to them, then you understand their level. Then you understand how convinced they are about Mayavad or not. Right? So, if they just heard something here, something there, and they're just not clear, then yes, then they're favorable people. Of course, these days, Kattar Mayavadis are very rare. Very rare. All wishy-washy. Hodgepodge. All hodgepodge. So therefore, everyone is a favorable candidate. All right? You have a question?
One point, Krishna doesn't preach.
Yes. Krishna preaches through his devotees.
That logic you gave, that if he does, he has to go to everyone.
Yes.
So he did not get it.
So, see, what do we find in this world? Does everyone get bhakti? Everyone doesn't get bhakti. Some get, some don't get, correct? Now, so if Krishna takes upon the task of preaching himself, can he preach to each and every soul or not? Yes. Why? He is omnipotent. He is all-powerful. If he wants, he can, in one moment, he can give bhakti to millions of jivas, correct? But you don't find that practically. Some get, some don't get. So then, if Krishna were the person who is going to give his mercy to the jivas, then people will blame, na? That he is giving bhakti to some and is not giving to some, even though he is capable of doing it. So he'll be blamed for being partial. So Krishna says, I don't want to. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is different. We're talking about Krishna. Anyways, how did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come? Huh? Yes, he came as devotee. He didn't come as Bhagavan. He came as devotee. So if Mahaprabhu gives, nobody will blame him because he is not claiming himself to be Bhagavan in the first place. He is claiming himself to be devotee only. That is our good fortune. And with that we'll discuss for Gaur Purnima.
Hare Krishna Guruji. So this was very nice discussion I heard once in Srimad Bhagavatam. So His Holiness Bhakti Bharat Bhagavad Swami Maharaj was saying that he was emphasizing on the point that devotees are very powerful, even powerful than Lord. And Radheshyam Prabhu then came up and spoke that by the mercy of Krishna. So in this connection, when I think, so this question came in my mind that you are saying that Krishna doesn't want to preach, That seems very logical when we discuss. And it also empowers and glorifies devotee in another way. That is, devotees are doing the service. And Krishna wants to glorify his devotees, that we have heard and seen. Now, when his devotee takes instance that they are desiring to preach some and some not, or it's indirectly Krishna's desire, that's my question. Means it's Krishna's desire ultimately involved, or it's his devotees' desire that they are preaching to some and some not on the basis of their discrimination, or it's inspiration from Krishna only?
Okay, so, good question. So now, if you say that, the devotee, he follows Krishna's will. If you say that devotee follows Krishna's will, okay, so that means, say, I'm going and preaching to him. I'm going and preaching to him. Why? Because it is Krishna's will. If this statement were true, that means who is doing the actual preaching? Krishna. Then you're bringing the matter back to the same thing. You get the point? Okay. So now if you take the second possibility, the second possibility is that the devotee is independent of Krishna's will. Correct? He is acting independent of Krishna's will. But devotee acting independent of Krishna's will, is he a devotee in the first place? No, you answer this question. If you say that devotee is acting independent of Krishna's will, is he a devotee in the first place? No. Then which is correct? So therefore, we reconcile this controversy by saying, this is what the acharyas are presenting, by saying that devotee uses his independent will to distribute Krishna's mercy. Devotee uses his independent will to distribute Krishna's mercy. The product that he is distributing is whose? Krishna's. But Krishna has given the distribution rights of his commodity to the devotee. Is it clear? So, commodity is Krishna's. The preacher should never think it is my commodity, I manufactured in my factory. No. So like in this world you find, no? The factory has got salesmen, those who distribute, correct? Is it their property? No, it is not their property, it is manufactured in the factory. And then they distribute. So similarly, this is Krishna's mercy, it's Krishna's property, it's Krishna's product. But the Lord has given the distribution rights to the devotee. And so therefore, the devotee should never think, it is my property that I am distributing. The moment he thinks that, he lands in trouble. So, it is Krishna's property, but because the devotee is surrendered to Krishna, therefore Krishna gives him the right to distribute. And for that, Krishna has given him that independence. He has given him that independence because he knows that he will not misuse the independence. Just like Narad Muni. Clear? Right. Correct. Prabhupada says many times.
We can also think like that, whatever you told, I understood. Like, we can also think like, ultimately, it's Krishna's desire. Like Prabhupada writes in the 18.69 verse, that Bhagavad Gita, that devotees know heart of Krishna. Although he doesn't want to give that bhakti to everyone, but devotees, like third chapter also, or second chapter, where he writes that preachers take that risk of going to individuals, even to envious or those who are not desiring, and they want to give enthuse that Krishna consciousness. So is that what heart of Krishna is known to the devotees?
See, heart of Krishna is that Krishna wants all the conditioned souls to come back. That is heart of Krishna. But this point remains, that is, the freedom has been given to the devotee by Krishna to decide where to distribute his mercy.
Like to all the jivas, free desire is there, whatever they want to act upon.
Yes. So similarly, the devotee also has that free will.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. Thank you very much, Murli. And one more question. Is it fine? So in first paragraph, initially it is written that Mahatmas or great souls 100% in devotional service. And when a person comes in contact with that Mahatma, then he gets attraction. In the final line, then it comes, such a person, if he has unflinching attraction to Krishna, becomes an eligible candidate for discharging devotional service. So is that contrast, or in between there is some process that unflinching faith is coming? Because it is very strong term, unflinching attraction of faith to Krishna. So in between there is a process, or just by the attraction and association of the devotee it happens?
Of course, yes. So initially there is Adho Shraddha, that is, as he's saying, a little bit of attraction. So that's what he gets initially. Or it could be even, if you take one step before that, then it's simply Ajnat Sukruti that one gets. Of course, at the level of Ajnat Sukruti, there's no attraction actually. So basically, when that matures, then Adho Shraddha, there is a little bit of attraction. And then that attraction, that faith has to gradually mature. And so if you talk about unflinching attraction to Krishna, then of course the term unflinching attraction to Krishna could be at different levels. So because even at the level of bhajan kriya, so some when a person comes to the level of taking initiation, so then there is some good level of firm faith. And of course that faith, as we'll be studying in the later part, that faith has to keep on increasing. And then of course, then when it comes to the level of prema, we can actually say it is, the faith is fully mature. But then even at the level of bhajan kriya, then some substantial amount of faith is required. Okay?
Thank you.
Fine. Okay, so now let's go to the next part. So now Rupa Swami speaks about which are the devotees, or what is the eligibility of the devotees to advance in devotional service. Okay, so till now we were talking about eligibility of the candidate to take up devotional service, to begin devotional service. Now we are talking about eligibility of the candidate for advancing in devotional service. Okay, so now that is based upon faith and knowledge, and so I'm sure you are very much well versed with these terms, Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam. And so the difference is basically on the basis of faith and knowledge. So the Kanishta Adhikari, faith is weak, Komal Shraddha, it's weak faith, knowledge is also weak, he cannot offer arguments to opposing opinion. Madhyam, he has stronger faith, he is convinced himself about the process. Knowledge is also good, but he can't always defeat opposing opinion. And Uttam, the faith is strong, convinced, and knowledge is also strong. He can convince others, he can defeat opposing opinions. So these are the criteria or the qualifications for advancing in devotional service. So first of all, the definition of faith, I'm sure we know this. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Please read.
Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Faith means conviction that the goal of life is to please Krishna and abandon all other desires.
Yes. So, confident, firm faith. Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Simply by performing devotional service to Krishna, all other activities are automatically fulfilled. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to worship the demigods, some karma, jnana, yoga, nothing. So that is the firm faith. And so this faith essentially means Shastriya Shraddha. Okay, this is faith based on Shastra. It is not some sentimental faith. If you remember 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how does it begin? Anybody remembers? 17th chapter of Gita, how does it begin? It begins with Arjuna asking a question. So Arjuna asks a question. So we do find that some people, they have faith. They have faith in a type of worship, in worshipping someone, but that faith is not based on scriptures. Then what type of faith is that? Under which mode of nature that is influenced by? That was Arjuna's question. And so that is called, so if the faith is not based on scripture, then it is called as Laukik Shraddha. So we find sometimes people have great faith, right? In some Baba, Bapu, they have so much faith. Hundreds, thousands of people go to take the dust from his lotus feet. We have so much experience, right? So we find that why they're going? Because of faith, they have strong faith. Is it based on scripture? No. And we find Krishna asked a similar question in Bhagavatam also. Which pastime? Yes, the Govardhan pastime. So that was Krishna's question to Nanda Maharaj. This Indra Puja, from where is it coming? Is it coming from scripture? Or is it coming in your family or whatever? What's the cause? So Nanda Maharaj, no, just generations were doing that. Okay, so that is called as Laukik Shraddha. But what we are talking about here is what? Shastriya Shraddha. There is Shraddha based on scripture. Just like we find Srila Prabhupada in the book Easy Journey to Other Planets, which he wrote in which year? So he wrote that before going to the US, he wrote that, correct? So it's not 67. Before going to the US, he wrote maybe 1950 or something like that. So yes. So the point is, right in that book, Srila Prabhupada wrote that this attempt to go on the moon is simply childish. So on what basis Srila Prabhupada is so convincingly writing that? Yes, because on the basis of Shastra, he had faith in Shastra. It's not possible to go to the moon by machine. One needs a qualification. So that was the faith he had. And then later on, all the time, he never changed that statement. Right? All the time he maintained that same stand, that they never went on the moon, even though they were advertising. Not possible. That faith came from Shastra. And so therefore, having that faith in Shastra, that is what we're talking about, Shastriya Shraddha. The faith has to be based on scripture, whatever we do. So that is the faith we're talking about here. So when the faith is weak, convinced, strong, it's all Shastriya Shraddha. Okay, go ahead. Okay, Kanishta Adhikari. So now, of course, so much can be discussed on each of these, and there's so many details both in the Bhagavatam, Nectar of Instruction. The topic is discussed in many places, so we won't get into too many details, but only some preliminary understanding we will go through. So the neophyte devotee of the Kanishta Adhikari, eligibility is one whose faith is not very strong, who's just beginning, should be considered a neophyte devotee. Okay, so this is the Bhakti Rasamrita. This is a translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita in the verse, which is also quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, go ahead. Okay, read. So this is his vision. That is what is his eligibility, his qualification that is being mentioned over there. And because what is his qualification? His qualification as eligibility is a very weak faith. He has very weak faith and he has very little knowledge in the Shastras. And because that is his eligibility or qualification, what is his vision? This is his vision. Read.
Vision, neophyte devotee, Kanishta Bhagavata, vision. A Prakrit Bhakt or materialistic devotee does not purposefully study the Shastra and try to understand the actual standard of pure devotional service. Consequently, he does not show proper respect to advanced devotees. He may, however, follow the regulative principles learned from his spiritual master or from his family who worships the deity. He is to be considered on the material platform. Although he is trying to advance in devotional service, such a person is Bhakta Praya, neophyte devotee, or Bhakta Bhas, for he is a little enlightened by Vaishnava philosophy.
So this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam purports. So the Kanishta Adhikari, so he is definitely a devotee. He is definitely a devotee, and so definitely he has faith in Krishna. He has faith in Krishna, and he can worship Krishna's deity. So that much faith he has. But at the same time, he has not progressed in his devotional understanding and his realization. And so as is mentioned over here, that he does not purposefully study the Shastra and try to understand the actual standard of pure devotional service. Purposefully. Why? Because if one studies and one knows the proper standard, one will have to follow, na? So better is what? Ignorance is bliss. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada always says, ignorance of law is no excuse. One cannot think ignorance is bliss. When one will be taken to Yamaraj, then he cannot say, I didn't know. No, why you did not know? No excuse. But then sometimes we do find some devotees trying to do something like this. And then they discourage those who are trying to study by saying, don't become jnani. Why you want to study so much? Chant Hare Krishna and do some service, that's enough. Correct? Why to spend so much time sitting here and attending and hearing all this? No, that's correct. So why we should study? Yes, to develop strong faith. That is the purpose. And how that strong faith will develop? By applying what we study in the Shastra. That is how the strong faith will develop. So therefore, one who is in the Kanishta platform, he thinks all this is not necessary. All this is not necessary. So why Prabhupada has given all these books? Only to distribute.
Scrutinizingly studying, applying.
So, no, but somebody who falls in this category will say that. Only distribute. What they told? Acha? Acha. Correct. Yes, then they'll see something else. Correct. So all this is Kanishta mentality. But Srila Prabhupada has also said that I've written these books for you to read, not only for distribution. So therefore it's very essential that we properly read the Shastras, understand the Shastras. See, it's not that we have to understand all the technical details and all that. But at least the basic philosophy every devotee needs to understand. And nobody can say, I don't have any capacity to understand. Anybody here like Gaur Kishodas Babaji? Illiterate? No one, right? So, Krishna has given intelligence to understand. We must use that intelligence in Krishna's service to understand properly and apply. And so because because of not properly reading the scriptures and applying the scripture, the realization does not increase, or the level of consciousness does not increase. Please note, sometimes this is a misunderstanding. Many times people think, as it is mentioned, that the Kanishta worships the deity in the temple and does not respect it. So sometimes devotees think that all the pujaris are Kanishtas. So that should not be the misunderstanding. So it is not dependent on what service one is doing. It is dependent on what? Yes, it is dependent on the consciousness. What is the consciousness? And so therefore, because of his not studying the scripture and applying the scripture, therefore his consciousness does not rise. And therefore he remains on a low level of consciousness. And because he cannot appreciate the presence of the Lord in everyone's heart, therefore he does not respect the other living entities. And of course, then there's a whole detailed discussion on this point in Lord Kapila's teachings in the 3rd canto. And there Lord Kapila very clearly says that if somebody is simply worshipping the deity but does not show respect to the other living entities, then actually he is not showing any respect to me. He is totally disrespecting me. And he says that such a devotee's worship of the deity is simply a show. The Lord is not all pleased with that type of deity worship. So if one is not showing respect to the other living entities, the other devotees, and is worshipping the deity, Krishna is not pleased by that type of deity worship. Because one's consciousness has to rise. The realization has to increase to see every living entity in relationship to the Supreme Lord and act accordingly. Act accordingly. And so, consequently, he does not show proper respect to advanced devotees. He may, however, follow the regulated principles, learn from his spiritual master, from his family who worships the deity. He is to be considered on the material platform. So, let's read from Srila Prabhupada's book. Okay, read from the book. So this is, so devotees may be divided into 3 classes. So Prabhupada first begins from the Uttama. So read the 3rd paragraph. The neophyte or 3rd class devotee.
The neophyte or 3rd class devotee is one whose faith is not strong and who at the same time does not recognize the decision of the revealed scripture. The neophyte's faith can be changed by someone else with strong arguments or by an opposite decision. Unlike the 2nd class devotee, who also cannot put forward arguments and evidences from the scripture, but who still has all faith in the objective. The neophyte has no firm faith in the objective. Thus, he is called the neophyte devotee.
So another important point Prabhupada is writing is that the neophyte's faith can be changed by someone else with strong arguments or by an opposite decision. So, the neophyte's faith is very weak, komal shraddha, and therefore it can easily be changed, it can easily be destroyed. So, all this can happen with one who is a kanishta. And of course, so again, an important point to note is that just like we have these stages of bhakti from Adav Shraddha to Prema, so all of them are not like separate individual boxes. Okay? It's not that one goes from one stage to the next exclusively. It's all overlapping. So Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sang, Bhajana Kriya, they're always happening throughout. Anartha Nivritti is also happening throughout. But then for our understanding, and because that's a major stage at that point of time, so therefore it's mentioned. So similarly, Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam are also not exclusive boxes. It's not that there is one stage called Kanishta, one completely finishes it off and then comes to Madhyam. No, there are all shades of grey in between. There are all types of shades in between. When one is transitioning from Kanishta to Madhyam, Madhyam to Uttam, there can be all levels of overlap. And so therefore, the Kanishta tendencies can be there. The Kanishta tendencies can be there for a long time. And so, if somebody could be a Madhyamadhikari, but there could still be some Kanishta tendencies. So all sorts of overlaps will be there. And so therefore, it is only the Uttama's definition actually which is very clear and specific. But there also, between Madhyam and Uttam also there can be overlaps. There also there can be overlaps. So therefore the important point is that, so one always needs to be careful because some Kanishta tendencies could always be there. And sometimes we do find that devotees, after spending many years in the movement also, their faith gets shaken. Their faith does get shaken. There could be many factors involved. But still, we do find these things happening. And therefore, one should never think that now I become advanced, now one should never think like that. Okay, fine, let's go ahead. So then the intermediate devotee, Madhyamadhikari, he who does not know scriptural argument very well, but who has firm faith is called an intermediate or second class devotee. So the Madhyamadhikari has firm faith and he himself is convinced and he is able to practice very strongly. That is the Madhyamadhikari. But his knowledge of scripture is not so strong. Sometimes he may not be able to give proper arguments to convince somebody else. So that's the eligibility or the qualification of the Madhyamadhikari. So what is the vision of the Madhyamadhikari? So we know the famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is Ishvaratad Adineshu Balisheshu Dvishatsucha Prema Maitri Kripa Upeksha Ya Karoti Samadhyama. So these are the four, how he reciprocates with four types of personalities. So that's basically the translation of that verse. Offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So his upeksha of those who are envious is also a manifestation of his mercy. Why? Yes, otherwise they will offend more. So if one tries to preach to such an envious person, then he may offend more. So therefore, keeping distance from him is also a manifestation of the Madhyamadhikari's mercy. And so that's how the Madhyamadhikari, he reciprocates with these four levels or four types of people. And so the Madhyamadhikari is the one who is the preacher, who distributes the Lord's mercy. The Uttamadhikari also does not preach. The Uttamadhikari also does not preach. Why? Yes, he does not make any discrimination. So he thinks everyone is a devotee, in fact, better devotee than me. So therefore, he cannot discriminate. So therefore, the Uttamadhikari also, if he has to do the service of preaching, then he has to come to the Madhyam platform and make those discriminations in order to preach. Okay, fine, next. And so finally, the topmost devotee or the Uttamadhikari, his eligibility is one who is expert in logic and in understanding the revealed scriptures, and who always has firm conviction and deep faith that is not blind. It's not blind, it's based on Shastra, is to be considered topmost devotee in devotional service. And of course, we have all our acharyas who are best examples for that. And of course, in recent times, we have our Srila Prabhupada, so expert, so expert. Anyway, it just reminds me of a pastime I recently heard from Rameshwar Prabhu. So one day, Rameshwar Prabhu, he was walking in some city in the US. And then he, some places they keep newsstands, news. Some newspapers are kept, and it may not be so much prevalent here, maybe. So anyway, he saw one newspaper, and he saw the headlines, and the headlines showed there was one famous personality, some singer or someone, some famous personality, and he had organized some big party, and so very elite people of the society, they came to attend. And after the feast that was served, all of them accepted the fact that the feast was fabulous, so tasty, they had never tasted anything so wonderful. And all of them were glorifying the amazing feast that was given. So anyway, Rameshwar Prabhu became a little inquisitive to see what exactly is this. So he took that newspaper and started reading. And so they all relished the feast. And so after the feast was over, they inquired from the host, what exactly was it that he fed them? And so the person said something very shocking. He said he had fed them the meat of aborted fetuses. Aborted fetuses. That means human flesh. That is what he had fed. So of course, Rameshwar was disgusted. And then after that, maybe that day, next day, whatever. So Srila Prabhupada went on the morning walk, and then, I suppose this was in Los Angeles, and then after the morning walk, they were returning back to the temple in the car. So there was the driver and Rameshwar Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada. And so Rameshwar Prabhu began to tell Srila Prabhupada what he had read. And so he told, and he was expecting the answer that Srila Prabhupada would say, disgusting, rascals, asuras, demons. That is what he was expecting in his mind. That would be the response. So after he told this, what he read to Srila Prabhupada said, that now they have realized that amongst all types of meat and flesh of all species, the tastiest is the human flesh. This was Srila Prabhupada's response. So when Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Rameshwar Prabhu heard this, they were wondering, what is Prabhupada saying? So the question that came to Rameshwar Prabhu was, how does Srila Prabhupada know about all types of meat and flesh? So of course he couldn't ask that question like that. But Srila Prabhupada said So Rameshwar Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada, you know everything. So Srila Prabhupada replied, so he said that, yes, and to give the correct information to the whole world. Therefore, when I translate these books, I choose every word very carefully. Because these books will be the law books for mankind for the next 10,000 years. That was Srila Prabhupada's response. So anyway, the point we're discussing is how the Uttam Adhikari knows everything. And therefore the Uttam Adhikari is so expert. And we can see, if you especially hear Srila Prabhupada's morning walks, conversations, anybody can ask any damn question. Srila Prabhupada is on the spot, ready with the answer. He doesn't have to think. So, similarly, Rameshwar Prabhu says that when they were doing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so we know he gave the instruction, Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months. So they had a deal with Srila Prabhupada. The deal was that as the artists are painting, then any question on the paintings that they had, they would immediately call up Srila Prabhupada wherever in the world he was, and Srila Prabhupada had to give the answer. That was the deal. Srila Prabhupada agreed. In an age where there were no mobile phones. And so the system would be that wherever Srila Prabhupada was, they would call the secretary, and the secretary would run to Srila Prabhupada, ask the question, get the answer, and get back on the phone and give the answer. That was the system. And so he says that they would ask, because this is painting, right? So in painting, so many details have to be known. They had no knowledge. In fact, most of us also have no knowledge. And they would ask all these questions like, for example, if you have to do a painting on Indra, then how does Indra look? Anybody has seen? Anybody has seen Indra? How does he look? And surely these Western devotees didn't know how Indra looks. So they would go and ask Srila Prabhupada, how does Indra look? We're supposed to paint Indra, how does he look? So Srila Prabhupada would give details of how to paint. How does Indra look? How does Brahma look? How does the spiritual world look? They had no clue of all this. But when Srila Prabhupada was asked these questions, on the spot, he would give answers. There was no delay. Not that I have to consult this Puran or this Upanishad, this, that, nothing. Any question, on the spot, Srila Prabhupada would give answers. And you can see in so many question answer sessions, you can see Srila Prabhupada's expertise in giving answers. So amazing, so amazing. Here also we have heard, no, in some of Prabhupada's classes. Anyway, immediately reminds me of one question that a person had asked, why are you preaching to the younger generation? You remember that? Here only one Prabhupada class was played. Yes. So Srila Prabhupada immediately said, therefore they are called as nonsense old fools. Yes. Sometimes he does that, yes. So Prabhupada's way of answering questions and the logic which he used, so much was based on logic and reasoning. Prabhupada would smash everyone. So that's expertise, and that's how thousands of people could become devotees. So therefore, for preachers, it is very important to hear Srila Prabhupada's morning walks, conversations. You can see Srila Prabhupada's expertise in preaching. So that's Uttamadikari. Because all that is coming from what? His firm conviction and deep faith. Because of that, then all those answers come. Because of that firm faith and deep conviction. An expert in logic and in understanding the scriptures. Of course, again, this logic and understanding is not some dry logic and reasoning which the mental speculators use. Mental speculators also use logic, but that logic is simply mental speculation. But this logic is based on scriptures. Logic based on scripture. That is the logic. Therefore, he specifically says that is not blind. Not blind. Not some mental speculatory answers. No, based on scripture. Okay, next. Okay, read.
Topmost devotee, Bhagavata. Most expansive vision. The most advanced devotee sees within everyone, everything, the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord.
Yes, Sarva Bhuteshu Ya Pashet. So he sees the Supreme Lord, good, everywhere, in everything. Stavar Jangam Deki, Na Deki Taramuti, Sarvatra Hoi, Nija Ishtadeva Svurti. So he sees moving and non-moving things, he does not see them, but he sees his Ishtadev, he sees the Supreme Lord present in all those things. And also we know this, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadai Varadayeshu Vilokayanti. So this is the Uttam Bhagavat, on the Uttamadikari. So then Rupa Goswami discusses those who are pious but without faith in the objective. And so we all know this famous verse, we already had discussion in the Bhagavad Gita. Chaturveda bhajanti mam jana sukritana arjuna artho jigyasur artarti jnani cha bharatarshava. Okay, so they are sukritina, they have some sukriti. Of course, the acharyas do explain that here also the sukriti refers to the association of devotees. So they have had some association of devotees, some ajnat sukriti they had. Therefore, when they are put into distress or they want wealth, they approach Krishna. They don't go anywhere else because they have that sukriti. And you know the examples for each one of them, right? Artho, example of artha is? Every time this mistake is made. And the photo is also there. Artha is not artha, it is artha, distress. Artharthi is artha, desire for artha, that is dhruva. And then jigyasu means inquisitive. Inquisitive for what? Inquisitive for what? Yes, they are inquisitive for knowledge in general. Okay, so it's not specifically knowledge about Krishna or the Supreme Brahman or something like that. It may be a mix. It may be knowledge about grammar, knowledge about avidya and vidya, so many things. So it's a mix. And the example is? आप लोगों का एग्जाम हो गया ना इसके ऊपर? मिडिल 6 चैप्टर्स हो गया ना? ये क्वेश्चन नहीं आया? Who's the example for Jigyasu? Which rishis? In Mount Kailash? Huh? Yeah, Shaunakadi Rishi where? Naimisharanya. And so, yes, so those sages were a mix. they wanted to inquire about Swarga, how to go to Swarga and this and that, so many things. In fact, that sacrifice originally they started for going to Swarga only. That was the original intention. It was a karmakanda sacrifice that they began. They want to perform for 1000 years. And the example of Jnani is? Yes, the four Kumaras and Shukdev Goswami. And Krishna explains that amongst the four, who's most dear to him? Jnani. Why? Say? Okay, he is free from material desires. No, why the Jnani is the most dear amongst the four? What knowledge he has? What knowledge? Yes, he has knowledge, correct. What knowledge he has? Yes, he is already detached, he has no material desires, that's correct. And what knowledge he has? He's called Jnani, right? Jnana means knowledge. So what knowledge he has? Hey, ek jan bolo, sadhu. He has knowledge of the Absolute. So what is the knowledge of the Absolute? See, all three levels are knowledge of the Absolute. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So what knowledge he has? क्या ऐसा भूल गए
वासुदेव सर्वमिति.
Yeah, truly motive.
वासुदेव सर्वमिति. Vasudeva Sarvamiti is so then what is the difference between the devotee and this jnani? Why the jnani is being put under this category?
Guruji,
Jnani could be aspiring for the knowledge of Brahman also. Because
Okay.
they also aspire for, they know that there is material misery. But
See,
only
who is the
devotee-
example? Four Kumaras,
Four
right? So you just think about what was the situation of the four Kumaras.
Brahmavadi.
They were Brahmavadis. Yes, so
Devotees are personality, they are attracted to the personality of Godhead, personal feature of.
okay, correct. Bolo. What do you want to say?
I am talking about their knowledge about that transcendence is absolute, but what transcendence they are confused of. What kind of that three stages mein kaun sa hai, they are confused, but they are convinced of this fact that they have to transcend this world.
Okay, you're somewhat close. So see, please remember some basic things, don't forget. Otherwise, after Bhakti Shastri, people will ask questions like, बोले किसने सिखाया है? Anyways, so the point is that the jnanis, they properly understand that the Supreme Lord as Krishna, Rama and all the avatars have transcendental bodies. They have proper knowledge. They don't offend the Supreme Lord thinking that the form of the Lord is material. They have proper knowledge. That's why they call us jnani. They have proper knowledge. They have proper knowledge. They don't have material desires. They're as good as devotees. They're as good as devotees. Only there is a little attraction to the impersonal Brahman. That is their only contamination. The only contamination is they have a little attraction to the impersonal Brahman. Otherwise, they're almost devotees. They're almost devotees. Yes, little attraction.
Someone who has purified, and then we say that they don't offend Lord's personal form, but we say that they are not attracted to the personal form, but to the impersonal form of the Lord. But then
Yes.
how it could be little attraction towards impersonal?
You're talking about jnanis in general, but here Krishna is talking about specific jnanis. Correct. So whatever I'm speaking from Acharya's commentaries. I'm not concocting anything. If you ask me counter question, I will immediately show you. No. No, I'm just clarifying. If you think I'm concocting anything. So therefore, these jnanis that Krishna is speaking about here, among these four, these are special jnanis who are very close to devotees. And therefore Krishna says, na? 7th chapter, 17th verse, he says, amongst the four, the jnanis are dear to me and all that. They're as good as myself, he says, correct? They're as good as myself. So why he's saying all that? Because they're as good as devotees. Fine. So these are considered to be with pious but without faith in the objective. In faith in the objective means the goal. This is before they become devotees. So before they become devotees, they don't know the goal, they don't understand devotional service, they don't understand all the details. But they have faith. They had some association with devotees, they have some faith. And so we find in all the cases, when they get some touch with devotees or devotional service, they immediately become devotees. Correct? How Gajendra became devotee? Yes, one thing is he remembered from his past life, he chanted some mantras and then? Yes, when the Lord came, he developed attraction for the Lord and he surrendered to the Lord. Then, how did Dhruva become devotee? Yes, by association with Narad Muni, following his instructions. Then he also had darshan of the Lord, then all his attraction for the material things went away. How did the Shaunakadi Rishi become devotees? Yes, association of Sutta Goswami was a pure devotee. That's how, then they lost all their interest in the Swarga and all that, and then they developed a transcendental objective. And similarly, how the four Kumaras became pure devotees? Yes, basically by association with the Lord. So that's how, so because they're Sukritina, they had some impressions of devotee association. So that's why when they have touch with devotees or devotee association with the Lord, they immediately become devotees. Okay, fine. Hare Krishna. So time for break. Hare Krishna. 10 minutes break.
Last session it was told that the Jnani, they have a very little tinge or attraction for the impersonalism, but they also understand that the body of Ram and Krishna is transcendental. So the very fact that Jnani means they have the holistic knowledge of all the scriptures, though they just doesn't maybe having the essence that what the scripture is saying, but if they have the knowledge about the Ram and Krishna, then they should go for the personal feature rather than they should be attracted to the impersonal feature.
Good question. Very good question. So what's the answer? Yes, rather well. How दूसरा कहाँ है?
See, although they have the understanding of the feature of the Lord, but because they are so much conditioned by the Gyan Marg, so they accept this to be all in all. So just to give a very naive example to to explain this, like in tobacco packets it is written tobacco is dangerous for health, but still the tobacco eaters knows the fact, but still he eats it.
Quite a good analogy. Of course, it's bona fide. Prabhupada gives this example. That is written on the pack, still there. So, bolo.
I've heard that Mayavadis also worship Ganesh and
Krishna, Krishna, Vishnu,
Narasimha.
they chant the holy names, they read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and they behave exactly like devotees.
So they have understanding of transcendental features and transcendental, some understanding, not full like devotees has, that what exactly transcendental means, but the very fact that they are confused, and they get confused when they hear that there is something which is beyond bodily feature, which is avyakta or Brahman. So that little bit makes them hallucinated that there could be something better or even superior. The same confusion could be there if it is not in the parampara. Like many Indians also understand that Vishnu is superior, but they do not know only that there are three Vishnus, or whether Vishnu is the original source or Ram or Krishna is the original source. So such person can.
Okay. So basically, so this is summarized in the verse by Brahma. अथापिति देव पदाम्बुजद्वय प्रसाद लेशानु गृहीत एव हि जानाति तत्वं भगवन् महिम्नो न चान्य एकोपि चिरं विचिन्वन्. That is the answer. Yes. So, one may know the scriptures, one may read the scriptures, one may know things, but the realization of the proper understanding and the proper objective that comes from prasad. Exactly, you got the exact points. You have really done PhD in prasad. So that is the key. Without that association of the Lord and His devotees, one cannot get the correct understanding. So, therefore, simply the principle applies to all of us also. We may read the scriptures and we may know the scriptures, we may know so many verses, but that does not guarantee firm faith in the conclusion of the scriptures. Because that firm faith comes from mercy. Therefore, one should never think that on my own I will go to some secluded place and read all the scriptures, become a great scholar, chant the holy names throughout the day, and I will become a great devotee. It doesn't work that way. Ultimately, all the practices should attract grace. If the practices don't attract grace, then they will simply be shrama eva hi kevalam. So that is how, so these people, because they got some mercy, so therefore when they're put in difficulties, they don't go to devatas or something like that. They come to Krishna. Because they have some faith. That is their sukriti. So that is why they come to Krishna. But then, in order to develop the drida shraddha, firm faith, then they have to get more association of devotees of the Lord, and that's how they develop that firm faith in devotees, and that's how they actually become devotees. Okay, fine. What's next? The goal of life is to please Krishna and abandon all other desires. That is the real objective. Okay, fine. So now we'll read something from the book. So Prabhupada writes, the neophyte devotees are classified into 4 groups. Prabhupada says all these 4 are neophytes. He says the neophyte devotees are classified into 4 groups. The distressed, those in need of money, inquisitive and the wise, according to the gradations of pious activities. Without pious activities, you got where I'm reading from? At least in this book it is page number 31.
Yes, got it.
Last paragraph. Everyone got?
Yes.
So without pious activities, if a man is in distress condition, he becomes an agnostic, communist or something like that. But because he does not firmly believe in God, he thinks that he can adjust his distress condition by totally disbelieving in him. Lord Krishna has explained in the Gita, there are these 4 types of neophytes. The one who is wise is very dear to him, because a wise man, if he is attached to Krishna, is not seeking an exchange of material benefits. A wise man who becomes attached to Krishna does not want any return from him, either in the form of relieving distress or gaining money. This means that from the very beginning, his basic principle of attachment to Krishna is more or less love. More or less. Furthermore, due to his wisdom and study of Shastras, he can understand also that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, Bhaunam Janmanamanti, after many births, when one actually becomes wise, he surrenders into Vasudeva, knowing perfectly well that Krishna Vasudeva is the original cause of all. And so for all these people to actually come to that, to become a devotee, that may take many lives also. Okay, now read from the next paragraph. Without being elevated.
Without being elevated to the position of a Gyani or wise man, one cannot stick to the principle of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The less intelligent, or those whose intelligence has been taken away by the spell of Maya, are attached to different demigods on account of the influence of the modes of nature. The wise man is he who has thoroughly understood that he is a spirit soul and not simply a body. Because he realizes that he is spirit and Krishna is a supreme spirit, he knows that his intimate relation should be with Krishna, not with his body. The distress and the man in want of money are in material concept of life. Because distress and need of money are both in relationship with the body. One who is inquisitive may be a little above the distressed and the man in need of money, but still he is on the material platform. But a wise man who seeks Krishna knows perfectly well that he is a spirit soul or Brahman, and that Krishna is a supreme spirit or Parabrahman. He knows that the spirit soul, being subordinate and finite, should always dovetail himself with the infinite and supreme soul, Krishna. That is the relationship of the wise man with Krishna. It can be concluded that a person who is freed from the bodily concept of life is an eligible candidate for pure devotional service. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that after Brahman realization, when one is freed from material anxieties and can see every living entity on an equal level, he is eligible to enter into devotional service.
What's the verse? What's the verse? Yes, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shoshati na kankshati samasarva bhutesham na mad bhaktim labate param. So that is the liberated platform. And so yes, one who's on the liberated platform, definitely he can come to the practice of pure devotional service. So of course, even at sadhana platform, one can be on the liberated platform. Correct? How?
Sadhana siddhas. Those who are sadhana siddhas.
No, we're not talking about siddhas. We're talking about those who are doing sadhana. Yes? Yes. So we already discussed this point. Even on sadhana bhakti level, one can perform pure devotional service. Correct? How?
Proper intentions.
Yes, proper intentions, no material desires, then he's practicing pure devotional service. So he's also on the liberated platform. So when one is on the liberated platform, that means basically no material desires. So if there are no material desires, then he can be considered on the liberated platform. Okay, go ahead.
I stated before, there are 3 kinds of happiness: material, spiritual and devotional. Devotional service and the happiness due to its execution are not possible as long as one is materially attached. If someone has a desire for material enjoyment or for becoming one with the Supreme, these are both considered material concepts. Because the impersonalist cannot appreciate the spiritual happiness of association and the exchange of loving affairs with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate goal is to become one with the Lord. This concept is simply an extension of material idea. In the material world, everyone is trying to be the topmost head man among all his fellows men or neighbors, either communally, socially, or nationally. Everyone is competing to be greater than all others in the material concept of life. This greatness can be extended to the unlimited so that one actually wants to become one with the greatest of all, the Supreme Lord. This is also a material concept, although maybe a little more advanced. However, the perfect spiritual concept of life is complete knowledge of one's constitutional position, in which one knows enough to dovetail himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. One must know that he is finite and the Lord is infinite. Thus, it is not possible to actually become one with the Lord even if one aspires for this. It is simply not possible. Therefore, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more important, either in the material sense or in spiritual sense, cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. So Rupa Goswami has therefore compared possessing this bhakti, material, and mukti, liberation, desires with being influenced by the black art of a witch. In both cases, one is in trouble. Bhakti means material enjoyment, and mukti means become freed from material anxiety and to become one with the Lord. These desires are compared to being haunted by a ghost and witches. Because while these aspirations for material enjoyment or spiritual oneness with the Supreme remains, no one can release the actual transcendental taste of devotional service.
Okay, so basically here, Rupa Goswami is describing what is the eligibility for practicing devotional service and what is not the eligibility. So here he is explaining that how these desires for bhakti and mukti, then they serve as obstacles to practicing pure devotional service. So he compares both of them to Pishachi, black art of a witch. Why? Because both give trouble. So if one has desires for material sense enjoyment, bhakti, what is the trouble? One thing is he has to take birth again. That is of course next birth. But before that, he is never satisfied. So if one has material desires, what happens? Kama. What happens to kama? Ah, yes. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? Regarding the qualities of kama? Dushpurena analena. Dushpurena means never satisfied and burns like fire. So this is what happens if one has material desires. So one material desire leads to another, and there is no satisfaction. So even as devotees, we should know this. So if we cultivate some material desires in our practice of devotional service, then it's a very difficult situation. There is lot of trouble. So many examples we see right in our society. So many examples. So if we have some desires, I want this service only, I want this post only, I want this only, that only. If we have these desires and we are attached to them and we don't get it, then what happens? Lot of trouble. I told you that incident, no? Of one devotee who wanted to build a temple. Yes, and his spiritual master and GBC did not allow him. I told you, correct? I told or no? So then what happened? So when he did not get permission for constructing the temple, Then what happened? He found one Baba who will satisfy his desires. That is what he thought. So this is what happens. So when one is firmly convinced, I have to satisfy my desire, and if you don't satisfy my desire, I'll go somewhere else to satisfy my desire. We see these things happening. Lot of trouble. Lot of trouble. And then similar desire for mukti. Desire for mukti, liberation, oneness with the Supreme, or no anxiety. I want peace. No service, only peace. Shanti. शांति से छोड़ दो मुझे, शांति चाहिए मुझे, सेवा करो नहीं. Big problem. Where you'll get shanti in ISKCON? But the devotee relishes transcendental service to the Lord much more than any type of shanti. One who has relished devotional service will hate shanti. Because the service gives much higher pleasure than so-called shanti. You think about it. Or if you want, you can experience it also. Maybe, as they say, after somebody is fried out in the frying pan of service, then one may desire I want some shanti, shanti. How many days? Maybe 2 days, 3 days. 1 week, kitna soega vyakti? Just like maybe Nayak Sagapru, after so many guests are coming, he may think, at least for 1-2 days you have desired, no? अभी बहुत हो गया, बहुत guest हो गया. But if one has too much desire for shanti, then ghost will come. This ghost, Pishachi. So, therefore these are, but if one has these desires, very important point Prabhupada is writing, what? If one has these desires, then one cannot relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. So if one wants to relish the sweet taste of devotional service, then one must give up these desires of bhakti and mukti and surrender to the desire of Krishna and his devotees. If one surrenders, whatever you say, I'm ready to do, then there'll actually be shanti. It's a fact. It's a fact. Because there's no anxiety. There's no anxiety then. When one is totally dependent on the will of Krishna, no anxiety. Whatever Krishna does, perfect. Whatever Krishna wants, perfect. No anxiety. Then one can relish the sweet taste of devotional service. To the degree one clings on, I want this, I want this, I want this, one cannot relish. Very simple formula. Not so easy to practice, but it's very simple. Just give up. Just these two things one has to give up, bhakti, mukti, just give up. Then one can actually chant and be happy. One can relish the sweet taste of the holy name. Any doubts? Okay, so now, Srila Rupa Goswami, what's there? Go ahead. I know, same thing is there. Anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses are becoming more and more important, either in material sense or spiritual sense. Spiritual sense is what? Spiritual sense is?
Mukti.
Yes, mukti. The desire for mukti is desire for satisfying the senses in a spiritual sense. That is desire for mukti, or becoming one with the Supreme. That's spiritual. But he cannot relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. Next. Okay, we read this. Okay, this is the next chapter. Okay, you can keep it blank for some time if you want. Okay. So now he gives various Shastric references to prove this point, that how a devotee does not desire bhakti or mukti. And he's beginning with Mahaprabhu's famous prayer. What is that? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani, janmanishware, bhavatat, bhaktir, ahaituki, tvai. So in this verse, what Mahaprabhu is denying? Both bhakti and mukti. By saying Janmanishware, he is denying even mukti. He's ready to take birth also, again and again. But the only thing he wants is service. Then what happens? Correct. That's right. So then he's giving other quotes. So one quote from Bilumangal Thakur. So this also I've heard many times. If I'm engaged in devotional service unto you, my dear Lord, then very easily can I perceive your presence everywhere. And as far as liberation is concerned, I think liberation stands at my door with folded hands waiting to serve me. Mukti, Mukulitanjali, Sevate, Asman. To pure devotees, therefore, liberation, spiritual emancipation, not very important things. So in the same context, you'll find so many references that how a devotee does not want bhakti and mukti, because this is the essence of devotional service. This is pure devotional service. Therefore, you find Rupa Goswami is giving so many references to just prove this one point. So many references, you can see that. Now, the rest of the chapter is filled with these references, and not only that, but the next chapter is also the same topic. Chapter 4, devotional service surpasses all liberation. It is the same topic, that how a devotee does not desire liberation. Okay, we'll read the first paragraph there. First two paragraphs you can read. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, devotional service surpasses all liberation. How much a devotee is seriously attached to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the statement of Maharaj Prithu, Adi Raja, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 20th chapter, verse 24. He prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus: My dear Lord, if after taking liberation I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotees from the core of their hearts in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray unto your Lordship that you may give me millions of tongues and millions of ears, so that I can constantly chant and hear of your transcendental glories. The impersonalist desire to merge into the existence of the Supreme But without keeping their individuality, they have no chance of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. Because they have no idea of the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, there is no chance of their chanting and hearing of his transcendental activities. In other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot release the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord.
Yes. So Prithu Maharaj, when the Lord asks him, what benediction do you want? He says, I don't want liberation. Of course, he says, I don't want going to heavenly planets, this, that. Okay, what do you want? He says, I want millions of years. Why? Yes, to hear Krishna Katha. Because there are so many devotees doing Krishna Katha all over the universe. There may be millions of devotees doing Krishna Katha, correct? He wants to hear all of them. He does not want to miss anyone. Just like we can hear only one person at a time, correct? Or maybe at the most two. One is hearing class also, and at the same time on earphones is hearing something else. But Maharaj Prithu is so eager to hear, he doesn't want to miss any devotee speaking throughout the universe. So therefore he wants millions of years, just see his desire to hear. So, why? Because he has understood the taste of hearing Krishna Katha. So that is what a devotee wants. Then for him, this liberation and all this is totally insignificant. Then there's the example of Bharat Maharaj. Oh, Bharat Maharaj gave up everything at a young age, went to the forest. So like that, now here also there are various references from especially the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? So the rest of the 4th chapter is for you to read. Because it's only a list of various Shastric references for this one point, that is, devotee does not want bhukti and mukti. So please read the rest of the chapter, and if you have any doubts, you can ask tomorrow. Okay? We are going to chapter 5, the purity of devotional service. Okay, please read the first 3 paragraphs of the purport.
All of the previous instructions imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statements can be summarized thus. As long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Next, Rupa Goswami states that devotional service is transcendental to all material considerations and that it is not limited to any particular country, class, society or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cause. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain, and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all without any distinction, and it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities.
So we all know this verse, devotional service is unchecked by any material circumstances. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahaituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. So devotional service cannot be interrupted by any material condition. Okay, continue.
In the Middle Ages, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya's great associate, Lord Nityananda, a class of priestly persons claimed to be the descendants of Nityananda, calling themselves the Goswami caste. They further claimed that the practice and spreading of devotional service belonged only to their particular class, which was known as Nityananda Vamsha. In this way, they exercised their artificial power for some time until Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the powerful Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, completely smashed their idea. There was a great hard struggle for some time, but it has turned out successfully, and it is now correctly and practically established that devotional service is not restricted to a particular class of men. Besides that, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is already at the status of being a high class Brahmana. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's struggle for this movement has come out successful. It is on the basis of his position that anyone can now become a Gaudiya Vaishnava from any part of the world or any part of the universe.
Prabhupada is thinking of the whole universe.
Anyone who is a pure Vaishnava is situated transcendentally, and therefore the highest qualification in the material world, namely to be in the mode of goodness, has already been achieved by such a person. Our Krishna conscious movement in the Western world is based on the above mentioned proposition of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, our spiritual master. On his authority, we are claiming members from all sections of the Western countries. The so-called Brahmanas claim that one who is not born into a Brahmana family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. But we do not accept such a theory because it is not supported by Rupa Goswami nor by the strength of the various scriptures.
Okay, so I think this point is pretty clear. Devotional service is the birthright of every living entity. So every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, so every living entity has the potential to become a devotee, and as we again know the famous verse, Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitti, Karoyodoy. So devotional service is present in the heart of every living entity. So anyone can become a devotee. And for that he is quoting some examples in the next paragraph. Read in the next paragraph.
Srila Rupa Goswami specifically mentioned herein that every man has the birthright to accept devotional service and to become Krishna conscious. He has given many evidences from many scriptures, and he has specially quoted one passage from Padma Puran, wherein the sage Vaishishta tells King Dilip, "My dear king, everyone has the right to execute devotional service, just as he has the right to take early birth in the month of Magha, December and January. There is more evidence in the Skanda Puran, in the
Kashi Khanda.
Kashi and Parsasan, where it is said, in the country known as Mayura Dhaja, the lower caste of people who were considered less than Shudra are also initiated in the Vaishnava cult for devotional service, and when they are properly dressed with tilak on their bodies and beads in their hands and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look very beautiful that immediately they surpass the ordinary Brahmanas.
Okay, fine. So these are some evidences he's giving that how devotional service can be accepted by anyone, just like anyone can take a bath. And he's also given this example of these people from Mayurdhvaj who are less than Shudras, but they can also become Vaishnavas. Okay, go ahead.
Thus, a Vaishnava automatically becomes a Brahmana. This idea is also supported by Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilasa, which is the Vaishnava guide. Therein, he has clearly stated that any person who is properly initiated into the Vaishnava cult certainly becomes a Brahmana, as much as the metal known as Kamsa, bell metal, is turned into gold by the mixture of mercury. A bona fide spiritual master, under the guidance of authorities, can turn anyone to the Vaishnava cult so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of Brahmana.
Right, so Srila Prabhupada often quoted this Sanatana Goswami. What is the verse? Huh?
It starts with the Yatha Dvijattam jayate nirnam, it ends with that.
Yes. So anyone can become a Dvija by the process, Diksha Vidhanena. By the Diksha Vidhan, anyone can become Vaishnava, just like anyone can produce gold by this process. Bell metal mixed with mercury, it becomes gold. Anyone tried? But yes, but unfortunately now nobody can do it. Nobody knows the exact technique. In fact, Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he says that some yogis, they would drink mercury and then pass it in urine, and then that and then they take a copper coin, and that copper coin they mix with that and heat it, and that produces gold. So easy to make gold. Somebody can try it. Huh? You want to try, Vamshi? Yes, you have to first become yogi. So in any case, nobody knows the exact process, how to do it, even though it is mentioned. Maybe people must have definitely tried, no? It needs some special siddhi to do that. So anyways, but the point is that anyone follows the process, he can do it, he can produce gold. So similarly, anyone who follows the process, Diksha Vidhanina, from the bona fide spiritual master, he can become a Vaishnava. So it does not matter from which part of the globe, caste, creed, color does not matter. One has to simply follow the process. Now next paragraph.
Srila Rupa Goswami warns, however, that if a person is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by the acceptance of such initiation, his business is then finished. One still has to follow the rules and regulations very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he is again fallen. One must be very vigilant to remember that he is the part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and that it is his duty as part and parcel to give service to the whole, or Krishna. If we do not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high-class Brahmana. One also has to discharge the duties and follow the regulative principles very rigidly.
Yes, so now Rupa Goswami is giving a warning. Yes, anyone can become Vaishnava, anyone can become Dvija by the process of Diksha, but then one has to follow. One has to follow the rules and regulations. Not that now I've got Diksha, now I've got ticket back home, back to Godhead. Now I can relax. No. Initiation only means beginning, not end. It is only beginning. So Srila Prabhupada was very particular about this, and maybe some of you have heard after a lecture, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada this question. So what if one is not able to follow the rules and regulations after Diksha? Prabhupada, on the spot, Prabhupada said, then he is an animal. Because only an animal does not have determination. And then Srila Prabhupada says, after taking vows in front of the deities, in front of the spiritual master, in front of the Vaishnavas and the fire, who is that gentleman who will not follow after taking the vows? Then he says, don't make it a farce. Don't make it a farce. Farce means what? Yes, show. He says, if you are not able, if you think you cannot follow, why do you take initiation? That was Prabhupada's point. Okay. Read this.
Sometimes the spiritual master, after accepting a disciple, must take charge of the disciple's past sinful activities, and being overloaded, must sometimes suffer. If not fully, then partially.
for the sinful acts of the disciple. Every disciple, therefore, must be very careful not to commit sinful activities after initiation. The poor spiritual master is kind and merciful enough to accept a disciple and partially suffer for that disciple's sinful activities. But Krishna, being merciful to his servant, neutralizes the reaction of sinful deeds for the servant who engages in preaching his glories.
Right? So the important point is that sometimes, not always, sometimes. So if the disciple commits sinful activities, the spiritual master may have to suffer, either fully or partially. So and Srila Prabhupada did say when he was very sick that this is the result of some of my disciples not following the regulative principles strictly. So the spiritual master will have to face the reaction. Why? Because Krishna wants to show both to the spiritual master and the disciples that the disciples are not following strictly. Then both get indication. The spiritual master and the disciples both get indication. And that is why Krishna does this. And so therefore, Srila Prabhupada talks about Jesus Christ. He says the Christians say that we will continue to commit sinful activities and Jesus Christ will suffer for our sins. Prabhupada says, what type of contract is this? You do all nonsense and Jesus will suffer for it. So he says, what type of gratitude is this? Jesus has come to deliver you and you make him suffer? So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. The poor spiritual master is kind and merciful enough to accept disciple and partially suffer for that disciple's sinful activities. So yes, so he's accepting and he's ready to suffer also. But then it does not mean that we purposefully make him suffer. So we have to be very particular about following all the various rules and regulations. So especially some Grihastha devotees may be very busy with jobs and all that, then they don't follow seriously chanting 16 rounds every day, then they keep things pending, then they don't do it. They take it very lightly. So it's not good. So therefore Prabhupada is writing, Rupa Goswami is writing here, one must be very vigilant. You see what Prabhupada is writing? One must be very vigilant to remember that he is part and parcel of the transcendent body of Krishna and his duty is part and parcel to give service to the whole of Krishna. If we not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high-class Brahman. So simply the process, the ceremony of Diksha does not mean much. Of course, that's also required, that's also important. Again, it creates the right sanskaras because one is taking vows in front of so many people. So it creates that sanskar. We remember that initiation ceremony, yes, I've taken vows. But especially in Kali Yuga, Maya is very strong, we tend to forget everything. So, therefore one has to take it very seriously. In our Bhagavad Gita discussions, we have shown you many quotes on these points from the Bhagavatam. Go next.
Because of the sinful activity, at night we had bad dreams which are very troublesome. Indeed, Maharaj Yudhishthir was obliged to see hell because of the slight deviation from the devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, Dushwapna, bad dreams occurs because of the sinful activity. A devotee sometimes accepts the sinful person as his disciple and to counteract the sinful reaction he accepts from the disciple, he has to see the bad dream. Nonetheless, the spiritual master is so kind that in the spite of the having the bad dream due to the sinful disciple, he accepts this troublesome business for the deliverance of the victims of the Kali Yuga. After the initiation, therefore, disciples should be extremely careful not to commit again any sinful act that might cause difficulties for himself and the spiritual master. Before the deity, before the fire, before the spiritual master, and before the Vaishnava, the honest disciple promises to refrain from all sinful activity. Therefore, he must not again commit the sinful act and thus create troublesome situation.
Okay, so this is another effect of committing sinful activities. Then both the disciple also may see bad dreams and the spiritual master also may see bad dreams because of the sinful activities. So there's trouble. After initiation, therefore, disciple should be what? Extremely careful not to commit any sinful act that might cause difficulties for himself and the spiritual master. Okay? Extremely careful. So, if it is unknowingly or force of circumstances, things like that, then it's okay. But at least one should not willingly, one should not commit sinful activities. Is this point clear? Haribol, समझ में आ रहा है ना? Next. Read.
The life of a sincere devotee of the Lord is thus explained in a nutshell by Narada Muni, by his personal example. Such a devotee, after his initiation by the Lord or his bona fide representative, takes very seriously chanting of the glories of the Lord and traveling all over the world so that others may also hear the glories of the Lord. Their only business is to chant and remember the holy name, fame and pastimes of the Lord, and according to personal capacity, to distribute the message for others' welfare without motive of material gain.
So, after initiation, what should happen? One must take very seriously the chanting of the glories of the Lord and traveling all over the world so others may also hear. So, the point is that after initiation, one has to become more serious in devotional service. Sometimes we find the other way. Before the initiation, one is very serious. One will regularly come to the temple, everything one will do. Why? Yes, for the initiation. Once initiation finished, gayab. Then one disappears. Why? Business finished now. So it should not happen like that. Rather, after initiation, then one's surrender, one's commitment to the Guru must increase. So these are things that we should educate other devotees also, whom we are preaching to. And so one should not be motivated. So without motive, one has to render the service. Next.
If one lives only for the satisfaction of Krishna, it does not matter whether he belongs to this order of life or that order of life. One's only business should be to satisfy Krishna. This process is completely manifest in the activities of Krishna conscious movement. It has been actually proved that the entire world can accept the devotional service without failure. One simply has to follow the instruction of the representative of Krishna.
Yes, so everyone can become devotee, everyone can accept devotional service. Only business is to satisfy Krishna, to follow the instructions of the representative of Krishna. That anyone can become a devotee. So this is the purity of devotional service. We discussed these points before also, I think, right? So in other processes, then to begin the other process or to practice the other process, there are a lot of qualifications, rules and regulations. Just like on the path of karma, then everything has to be very precise. Chanting of mantras and the time and everything has to be very precise. Yes, purity of the person, purity of the process, purity of the ingredients, everything very precise. We all know the famous story of Vritrasur, how little mistake in the chanting of mantras, opposite effects. Similarly, if one wants to practice jnana, first of all he has to be purified by karma. Yes, he has to perform his prescribed duties, karma yoga, get purified. Then only when he's purified he can practice jnana. So there are so many rules, regulations, conditions. But because devotional service is so pure and perfect, anyone from any part of the world can begin devotional service, practice devotional service and make spiritual progress. Okay, so but yes, sometimes mistakes do happen. Then what to do? Next paragraph. Srila Rupa Goswami also says,
Srila Rupa Goswami also says that if one is regularly discharging devotional service, there will be no question of a fall down. But even if circumstantially there is some fall down, the Vaishnava need have nothing to do with the prayaschitta, the ritualistic ceremony for purification. If someone falls down from the principles of devotional service, he need not take to the prayaschitta performance for reformation. He simply has to execute the rules and regulations for discharging devotional service, and this is sufficient for his reinstatement. This is the mystery of the Vaishnava devotional cult.
yes. So even though yes, a sincere devotee may not want to commit some wrong activities, but because Maya is very strong, due to the force of one's conditionings, material conditionings, there could be some mistake. But even if there's some mistake, even if one accidentally commits some sinful activity, it's not that he has to do some karmakanda prayaschitta or do something else. There's no needs. There's no need to go to some astrologer and do some karmakanda thing. No needs. The prayaschitta is devotional service itself. Subhuddhi rice pastime. Good, yes. So, that is what Rupa Goswami is saying. The prayaschitta is devotional service itself. So one can intensify one's devotional service, chant more holy names, read Bhagavatam, serve the Vaishnavas. The devotional process itself is the prayaschitta. There is no other prayaschitta for some sinful activities committed while chanting while performing devotional service. Is this point clear? Yes. So that is the purity of devotional service. And that is why now Rupa Goswami explains how devotional service is superior to all other processes of karma, jnana, yoga. That's the next paragraph. Read.
Practically, there are three processes for elevating one to the platform of...
This volume can be slightly increased now.
Practically, there are three processes for elevating one to the platform of spiritual consciousness. These processes are called karma, jnana and bhakti. Ritualistic performance are in the field of karma. Speculative process are in the field of jnana. One who has taken to bhakti, the devotional service of the Lord, need have nothing to do with karma or jnana. It has been already explained that pure devotional service is without any tinge of karma or jnana. Bhakti should have no tinge of philosophical speculation or ritualistic performance.
Okay. What you want?
Raji, we see that in devotional service there is no prayaschitta as we mentioned. But we often hear devotees doing some mishaps, maybe accidental, whatever. But we see very strict action is being taken on them. And practically we don't see any, they are not asked to say like chant 64 rounds now for some time. Such prayaschitta is not given. They are given such heavy punishments from a managerial perspective. So how we should see this?
So, managerially, whatever that is institutional, whatever is required to be done may have to be done. So, that we cannot comment on that because that's whatever the institution thinks is most appropriate. But this is for one's own personal purification. For one's own personal purification, then this is what has to be done. The practice of devotional service itself. There's nothing else required. Institutional thing is different. So, that whatever the institution thinks is appropriate.
But that's true, but we see because we are in an institution and we have a lot of dependency on the institution to practice bhakti also. So if somebody does something like that, we see that then if institutions bans him something like, then he is considered to be an outcast in the institution itself. Although it may be some like accidental fall down, and because he's not in the institution.
So that's what, so we cannot generalize these things with, depends on individual to individual, it depends upon the seriousness of the offense, so how it's going to affect other devotees. So there's so many factors involved. So if somebody has done some serious mistake, which is going and is in a very senior position, is going to affect the lives of so many other devotees, then the action has to be taken to protect other devotees. These things have to be done. So anyway, one has to have faith. So many senior devotees, see, when such action is taken, it is not some neophyte devotees, brand new devotees who make these decisions, correct? They are very, very senior devotees with so much of experience. They come together, and sometimes it takes years to come to decisions. Before they make such serious decisions, it takes years. They don't make such decisions so easily. So we have to have faith. They know what is best, and ultimately Krishna is orchestrating all these things. Okay, fine. Now we want to establish this point that how bhakti is superior to karma or jnana. Then he's giving some Shastric references. So that is what he's giving. One is from the 11th canto, 21st chapter, that is one reference. Then from the first canto, there's the well-known verse, Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakvo tapate tato yadi yatra kamava badhram abud amushukim ko varta apto bhajatam swadharma. So that verse very clearly establishes that bhakti is superior to karma. So even though one may be performing one's dharma, that means one ashram duties one may perform perfectly, but if it does not perform bhakti, what is the use? But on the other hand, if one is performing bhakti but accidentally falls down, there is not much loss, because whatever devotional service is performed is never lost. So that is how bhakti is superior to karma. And then he's also quoting from the 5th canto, there's one verse from Rishabdev to his sons. Persons engaged in fruitive activities are repeatedly accepting birth and death until they develop a loving feeling for Vasudev. There will be no question of getting out from the stringent laws of material nature. As such, any person who is very seriously engaged in his occupation duties in the varnas and ashramas and does not develop love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudev should be understood to be simply spoiling his human form of life. And then he's giving another quote from the 11th canto. And also another quote from 11th canto. Okay, now this other quote from the 11th canto, 5th chapter, verse 41, is again the well-known famous verse. Devarshi bhutaptaninam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rinicharajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parirutya kartum. So that is what is being explained over here. That is the greatness of devotional service. That if one is performing devotional service, then one does not have any debts to Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta, Nirnam, Pitrinam. Six categories of people. And why is that so? Then Srila Prabhupada is explaining. Okay, but I think so you know it. So why there is, so first of all, one has debts to the Devas. Why? Yes, they give us rain, sun, all this. So therefore one is indebted to Devatas. But then by serving Krishna, one is satisfying all the Devatas. Example? Yes, by watering the root of the tree or feeding the stomach. So Deva, Rishi, one is indebted to the Rishis. Why? Yes, you get scriptures. Vyasadev. Bhuta means not ghosts, other living entities. So one is indebted to other living entities. Why? Yes, like cow gives milk and yes, bull tills the ground, and yes, you get honey from the factory. Honeybees. Yes, you get wool from sheep. Okay, dog also may give some service. So like that. So many living entities we are getting service from. So we are indebted to them. Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta. Apta means relatives. So we are indebted to relatives. Why? Yes, they help in different situations. Ninam means so many human beings. Why so many other human beings? Yeah, society, they're helping us. How? Okay, so somebody is coming to put the water pipes and for construction, so many things. So we depend on so many other people. And Pitris, forefathers. Yes, so we have a material body because of them and they've helped us so many. So we're indebted to so many people in society, but by serving Mukunda, then all these debts become neutralized. So therefore Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, what? Sarva dharman parityajya. And if one thinks some sin will occur because of not serving all these people, he says, what? Mamekam am tvam sarva papebhyo. If you think there are going to be some sinful activities, I'll neutralize all of them. That's what Prabhupada also therefore. So after explaining all this, Prabhupada is saying that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, give up all your occupations, just become surrendered to me. I give you assurance that I shall give you protection in all sinful reactions. One may think that because he is surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will not be able to perform all his other obligations. But the Lord says repeatedly, don't hesitate, don't consider that because you're giving up all other engagements, there'll be some flaw in your life. Don't think like that. I will give you all protection. That is the assurance of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And then he's giving some additional reference from Agastya Samhita. In other words, the devotees of Lord Ramchandra or Krishna are liberated persons and are not required to follow the regulative principles mentioned in the ritualistic portion of the Vedic literature. And then finally, he is quoting this verse from the 11th canto, 5th chapter, verse 42, which is very similar to the Apichet Suduracharo verse. How does it begin? Apichet Suduracharo is the Bhagavad Gita verse, but this verse from the Bhagavatam, somebody can quickly open? 11th chapter, 11th canto, 5th chapter. Yes, Swapada Moolam. Swapada
Bhajata Priyasya
Bhajata Priyasya
Tattana Bhavasya Hari Prasparesh.
Vikarma Yachod Patita. So it is very similar to this verse. So by Katanchit means accidentally. Katanchit means accident. Accidentally someone commits some vikarma, but because he is priyasya, because he is very dear to the Supreme Lord, then the Lord purifies him. Okay? So and then Prabhupada is also saying, it is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita in many places, that Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna takes special interest in his devotees and declares emphatically that nothing can cause his devotees to fall down. He is always protecting them. So this is all the purity and the greatness of devotional service. And so therefore, one has to take devotional service very seriously. And to the degree one practices seriously, then one will be protected from fall down. And thus one can progress in devotional service. All right?
Based on the last statement only, Krishna is always protecting his devotees. Then how we should see the fall down of devotees?
How we should see the fall down of devotees? That is the misuse of free will.
And there are some stories of accidental fall down also.
Yes. So why accidental fall downs? Because, of course, there could be so many reasons. So, but in any case, the point is that we are fighting a war with Maya.
But then how?
So in the war, sometimes one gets injured.
But how to cope up that? Krishna,
so therefore, when one gets injured, then one has to understand that one has to become careful and stronger, spiritually strong. Yes, one should be equipped with armor, protect oneself, spiritual strength. So one has to understand, I'm not sufficiently strong. I'm weak. So I have to become stronger. I have to make my spiritual practices stronger, more serious. That is the lesson Krishna wants to teach.
But then if Krishna is saying nothing can cause his devotees to fall down, he is always protected.
Yes, because whatever devotional service one has performed always remains. It's never lost.
Okay, it is in that aspect.
Yes. So whatever devotional service one has performed is never lost. So that is always protected. But at the same time, ultimately whatever happens in the life of a devotee, Krishna wants to teach some lesson. And that teaching the lesson is also protection. Because if Krishna doesn't teach a lesson, how will the devotee become stronger? Just like for this Bhakti Shastri, you have test, right? Why?
Make our understanding stronger.
To check our own understanding, how much we have understood, how much we need to revise, how much we need to study. So we saw in today's test. This was unofficial test. We were seeing. So then we understand that we have a long way to go. So Krishna also does like that. So Krishna also gives some tests in between. And so when the test comes, then we realize whether I am sufficiently strong or not. So that is also Krishna's protection. So then we take the process more seriously. Then we become stronger. So isn't that protection? That is also protection. So whatever Krishna does in the life of a devotee is ultimately Krishna's protection. Okay? Fine. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Okay, sorry, we missed out this quote. One last quote. Read. Wherever the mic is, read.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered that Prithivite, all over the world, as many towns and villages are there, my name will be established there. So we are trying to do that. So his name should be established does not mean that they should remain as Yavanas or Mlechas and simply they should know Lord Chaitanya. No. Actually the fact is that everyone should be elevated to the position of Vaishnava, purified Vaishnava.
Yes, so devotional service is meant for everyone. That is the point. That's the last one item, right? Yes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll meet again and continue. Hare Krishna.